time for NuWho Review with your host, Farrar Hutkins.
Welcome back to, can you believe it's the 9th episode of NuWho Review? We are 3/4 of the way through Peter Capaldi's first season. And my name is Farrar, and I am back with my usual cohort, Lewis.
Hello. And
returning cohort, Chris.
Hello.
Who is starting a trend here because apparently Chris is going to be with us every time we review a Matheson episode.
Fine by me.
And judging from his track record, you're going to be here a lot. Because he's done pretty well with these last 2 episodes. People are really enthused about his writing.
Yeah.
Kind of a shame the viewer figures for this past episode were the lowest of any of the season. It was about 4.3 million.
Well, you know,
but
that's
the people who did see
me,
it are raving about it.
Something that's really confused me about viewer ratings has been, if the episode is in first run, that bespeaks more of the trailer than of the episode, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, after all,
fair enough.
You don't have a bunch of times for word to get around, you know, like for a feature film.
No, and assuming they're not counting the American ratings, you couldn't even add that to it because there is a little bit of, you know, people in the UK see it, and then 4 hours later or 5 hours later, however long it is, people in the US see it. There's time for people to tweet about it and put it up on Facebook and say, you guys should really watch this episode across the pond. I think they're still counting only, for the purposes of the statistics that I see online, I think they're only counting the original BBC One viewership.
Right. And that's obviously the most pertinent thing about keeping our favorite show on the air. But when it comes down to it, viewer appreciation is the key thing. And I really appreciated the hell out of this episode. I liked it.
Yeah, me too.
I thought this was an episode that was obviously done on a budget, but a great demonstration of what you can do within your limitations.
Well, not only that.
I mean, there was a lot of CGI in this episode, but it looked great.
Yeah. And it wasn't just that. It was the new ideas, you know? I mean, when was the last time we actually saw the TARDIS have a dimensional accident? It's been a while. I think Father's Day, you know, we saw the inside and the outside get disconnected.
Yeah. And that was 9 years ago.
Oh, actually, you know what? We saw something very similar to this happen in Legopolis.
That's true. But that's not so much dimensional instability as that's the last time we saw the TARDIS shrink.
Right.
And people immediately made the connection. As soon as it happened online, people were saying, oh, Legopolis. Before the episode even came out, they said, well, we're doing Legopolis again. And how wrong we were.
Yeah, different.
Because this was definitely a zombie episode. And I have not seen zombies in Doctor Who since Image of the Fendal. And it was really nice to see some good shambling monsters again in Doctor Who. I am probably one of the least susceptible people when it comes to horror films and TV shows. I do not get scared. I do not jump around and get goosebumps. But I like a good story, and this was a pretty good story for all its weak points. The story really carried it. There were some technical things that people were kind of like, oh, you know, how does Clara know how to use the sonic screwdriver? And why does the Doctor just zap the aliens with the screwdriver at the end without really explaining it? And those are quibbles, you know. I mean, I think overall the episode really held up.
Yeah,
you know,
good action in this episode. It just carries you along.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think 8 or 8.5 out of 10.
The TARDIS never does this. This is huge. Well, not literally huge. Slightly smaller than usual, which is huge.
Yes, I get it. You're excited. When can I go home?
These past 3 episodes have really seen kind of a Clara becomes the Doctor arc. Intentionally or not. Probably unintentionally, but in the last 3 episodes, I've seen Clara becoming the Doctor, and this time she really was the Doctor.
Yeah, literally almost.
Yeah, Dr. Clara.
Yeah. And since they've been sort of jockeying for one-upsmanship in the TARDIS, I think it is intentional. I really do.
You're going to need these.
Oh, wow. This is an honor. Does this mean I'm you now?
No, it does not. So don't get any ideas.
This was the episode where the Doctor figured out who he was. And in true Stephen Moffat showrunner form, he's the blank who blank. He is the man who stops the monsters. I wish they could have come up with something a little cleverer than that, but apparently it needs to be on a bumper sticker. But he knows who he is now, 9 episodes into his 12-episode first season. Now that he knows who he is, he can look at Clara and realize how much she is like him and not like it. You know, he, in Time Heist, was talking about how he was the architect and he hated it. So there's a little bit of self-loathing there. And now he's got Clara as a mirror to himself, and he doesn't like that either.
What are you a doctor of?
Of lies.
Well, I'm usually quite vague about that. I think I just picked the title because it makes me sound important.
Which kind of makes me wonder what's going on with the whole Clara-Missy thing, because what I was thinking was, if Clara's an ordinary human being, and she's just picking up all these bad behavior traits from the Doctor, and especially since she knows how to use psychic paper and she knows how to use the sonic screwdriver, she knows how to operate the TARDIS, he's just going to have to wipe her memory before she goes.
Wow.
Because she's
yes.
going to be a really powerful human. She's going to know stuff she's not supposed to know, and we can't really rely on her to keep a secret. I mean, after all, she's such an awful liar. She couldn't possibly be very good at keeping secrets either. But now that we know from the end of this episode that Clara has been chosen for something, kind of makes me wonder if there's a little bit more to her character than we've seen. And the more she becomes like the Doctor...
Well, or at least more to
more
this version of Clara than we've seen.
Well, yeah.
Because obviously she had a purpose before.
I don't consider this Clara the previous
same,
Clara.
no.
I consider this a completely different character. And Missy, it seems like, is waiting for the tomato to ripen on the vine, waiting for the fruit to be plucked.
Well, either that or Clara's got a sleeper agent type of mission, you know. She could be the Manchurian companion, for that matter.
Yeah.
Well, it might go better than Turlo did.
Good callback.
Last time we had a companion in the TARDIS whose mission it was to kill the Doctor, he ended up just deciding, you know what, I've been working for the wrong guy.
Yeah.
So Missy could be the new version of the Black Guardian. And I guess that remains to be seen. If she's the 21st century equivalent of the Black Guardian, then who's going to be the White Guardian?
Yeah, or she could just be another Eternal. That'd be an interesting return. And
well, I'm surprised no one made that comparison in Robot of Sherwood when somebody asked the Doctor what he wanted and he said enlightenment.
oh, really?
Yeah.
He said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then after that he said information.
Wow.
I need I need information. He wanted to know what was up with this ship and the Promised Land thing.
Clara, my Clara, I have chosen well.
I got to rewatch this episode. There's some weird stuff going on. I mean, just like a lot of Fifth Doctor episodes, but
Yeah, a lot of people still think that Missy is the TARDIS. There are some people out there who still think that Missy is the Master. I was really going with the TARDIS theory, but I'm changing my mind. I think Missy is an entirely new character.
okay.
She may be based on a previous character like the Black Guardian, but I think they've invested too much in teasing her to the audience to have us just go, oh, she's somebody we already knew. Unless they completely remake the character like they did the Master.
Yeah. I don't know. I doubt she's the Ronnie.
No.
But is she a time lady?
There was an interesting theory that I came up with late one night. What if when the Time Lords gave the Doctor that burst of energy and gave him a whole new set of regenerations, what if they gave him too much energy and actually split him? And now there's 2 versions of the Doctor, one male and one female.
I think that would be too much to put across, but it's possible.
I was just thinking of that episode of Next Generation where a transport accident created a second Riker.
Right.
You know, and I thought, well, you know, they've drawn on a couple of good concepts from the Next Generation in NuWho, and that was kind of a fun episode.
That's just a guy on community support and I'm helping him find his auntie.
Nice. Not technically lying.
Sounds kind of active.
Yeah. There was a thing.
What is Danny going to do? Because I really had a lot of hope for him, but he seems kind of hopeless now.
He's dropping the ball.
He calls her up. She's late for lunch. By the way, she answers the phone when you don't expect her to answer it. And then later in the episode, she doesn't answer the phone when you do expect her to. But anyway, Danny calls his girlfriend who's late for lunch, and he hears heavy breathing and another male voice.
Yeah.
And he's so joyously innocent. You know, he just goes, "Oh, is something wrong? Or are you okay? Are you in trouble?"
No,
not the first thing that
possibly
I would think
be.
of. No,
right.
Yeah, I think Danny is maybe living up to his PE teacher IQ assumption.
Oh well,
poor guy. I really had hope for him. I was thinking it'd be nice to see him in the future.
Good guess, Doctor.
Yeah, the impossible girl meets the
Oblivious.
Oblivious. Yeah. There you go. The impossible girl meets the oblivious man.
Nice.
A match made in
Dr.
Purgatory.
E-space. Yeah, I don't know.
Like a forest fire, though, isn't it? The objective is to save the great trees, not the brushwood. Am I right?
It wasn't a fire. Those weren't trees. Those were people.
They were community payback scumbags. I wouldn't lose any sleep.
I bet you won't.
And what else do we have in this episode? We've got our Banksy analog.
Yeah, we've got Rigsy, who is Banksy in the Doctor Who universe. Artwork, which was very reminiscent of Banksy, graffiti or artwork, depending on your view, which was very reminiscent of Banksy. Yet another will he or won't he be a companion tease.
Right.
Just like we had in the previous couple of episodes. Although, I think they fleshed Rigsy's character out a little bit more than Fenton the engineer from the previous episode.
That was fun, though. You know, I know
a
lot of
character.
engineers who are just like that.
Oh, yeah. The engineer at work is one of these guys who's been an engineer for 30, 35 years. Pretty much exactly like that.
Yeah,
nothing phases him at all.
Yeah.
He just kind of goes with the flow, and somebody tells him there's a problem, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, well, guess we better fix that."
And no real sense of wonder, just a pragmatic appreciation for how much work he's getting himself into.
Right.
So,
whereas in this episode, the pragmatist was the guy that I really wanted Clara to slap. And that's saying something because I really hate it when Clara slaps the Doctor, but I was waiting for her to slap that old guy who has just no empathy or fellow feeling at all.
Not enough imagination to actually be prone to psychic paper.
Yeah. Well, the psychic paper now we've seen has a couple of flaws. It doesn't work against a great intelligence, and it also doesn't work against somebody who's so much of a dullard as to have no imagination whatsoever. So since the psychic paper has its flaws, I guess it's a good thing that the sonic screwdriver can now do everything.
Yeah.
Including...
but it's been doing everything for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but now it's a TARDIS power remote control, which was the first time we've seen that.
I can deal with it just being remote controlled, as long as he didn't actually banish the monsters using the sonic screwdriver.
I would have to go back and watch it again, but I'm pretty sure that he hit the button on the sonic screwdriver and the energy field that radiated was as big as the TARDIS itself.
It radiated from the TARDIS.
And then it went out from there.
I can deal with that.
Because the whole thing was that he said, I can do it if the TARDIS has enough power.
Right.
So the story I thought was really clever because in the beginning we thought Clara's going to have to stop the monsters. But the story changed. The story became Clara has to help the Doctor. Because the Doctor is the one who can defeat the monsters.
Stops the monsters. That's what he does.
Right. And he is the man who stops the monsters.
Right. That's what it says in his diploma, I'm sure.
It's a very clear division of labor.
Yeah. He's probably got like a Mini Cooper and it says, my other car is the TARDIS. And then on the other end of the bumper, it says, the man who stops the monsters.
Right.
I don't know. I guess it's aimed for the kids. The kids need something that they can latch onto. And the man who stops the monsters...
Well, you know, that's the other thing, though. This Doctor is not as clear-cut of a hero type. This is not John Pertwee.
Not until this episode.
You know? Right. And, you know, perhaps they felt like they really had to come back out and just bluntly define him for those kids, which is an important part of the Doctor Who viewership. You've got to have the Doctor being the guy who fixes the problem and keeps the monsters at bay. That's his purpose.
Yeah, and even though Stephen Moffat said that this season was all about Clara, and he really seems to be taking the view of Doctor Who that it's about the companion and not about the Doctor.
Yeah, which it's grown into in the last couple of years.
Yeah. That being considered, the Doctor has been written so ambiguous in will he or won't he for 8 episodes that, I don't know about the kids, but some of the adult viewers that I've been talking to are like, I don't know if I can like this guy anymore. And these are also the same people who think that Clara is really annoying. So if they don't like the companion and they don't like the Doctor, you're going to lose viewers.
Right. Right. I mean, at the very bottom of it, the Doctor has to be the guy that plays the hero, even if he doesn't act like the hero.
Right. And in this episode, we saw the Doctor becoming the hero definitively, and we also saw Clara's lies catching up to her.
Yeah.
Which means that they have both grown and developed into, I think, the characters that they really needed to be.
Well, you know, at the end of the episode, the Doctor appears a little bit annoyed and, you know, basically is playing it off as having done his perfunctory duty.
Well, that's one of the things that I really liked about those last couple of scenes. I began to dislike, beginning with when Tennant did it, the big I am the Doctor speech.
Right.
It seems like trailer fodder. Like, the only reason they wrote it there was to throw it in a mashup later. And Tennant did it, it was okay. Smith did it, I hated it. This time, Capaldi did it, and I was like, you know, he kind of sold it, because for a little while we haven't really known who he is, and newcomers to the show may have needed this. Plus, he kind of has the gravitas to really deliver that and make us believe it. But what I especially liked about it was really over the top, and precisely for that reason, no one wants to touch him at the end of the episode. They all walk out of the TARDIS, they give him funny looks, and they hug Clara and say goodbye.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we're not going to mess with this crazy guy over here who makes speeches. And,
don't care who he is, don't care why he's here.
Right, just leave us alone, crazy guy. We're going to kiss the ground and walk home, which I thought was pretty funny. I thought, well, that's a great reaction to one of those over-the-top speeches.
Yeah.
Doctor Who has always been over the top at its best and worst, but that was a great reaction to this great over-the-top moment from the character that these people have seen for a good 3 minutes, maybe, if that. You know, the TARDIS gets bigger, he jumps out, makes this speech, and they're all like, can we cut the monsters now?
Yeah. Sheer, stark amazement at having survived.
Right.
And I don't know whether you're here to invade, infiltrate, or just replace us. I don't suppose it really matters now. You are monsters! That is the role you seem determined to play, so it seems that I must play mine. The man that stops the monsters.
I thought that last scene was interesting too. The goodbye scene. You know, when they're out in daylight again. The old fellow, the community service supervisor or whatever. You know, he's talking about, oh, you know, we've lost a few lives, but you know, it's the brushwood. Nothing to lose sleep over. And the way
Pot calling the kettle black.
Right. And then, you know, the Doctor says, you know, I bet you wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've sensed a subtlety in the way he said that.
Well,
like it was almost like a knowing kind of thing.
I thought that they did that intentionally. I thought they wrote this character as a reflection of the Doctor's coldness.
Right, yeah.
Because
that's what I got from it too.
There's that thing where he looks in the mirror and he sees Clara. Well, actually, it's he's looking through her.
Right.
But
yeah.
There were also mirrors of his own character. You know, Briggsy was the guy who goes around changing things, but not necessarily ruining them. You know,
Right.
he sees that he's interfering, but he's changing things for the better. He takes a blank wall and makes it pretty. Well, the Doctor's been interfering with things in behalf of what he thinks needs to be done and for the purpose of good. And the old heartless dude is a reflection of how in the last 8 episodes people have been accusing the Doctor of being totally heartless. In Mummy on the Orient Express, I thought there was an opportunity to make him appear a lot less heartless. When people were saying, a man's just died, you know, let's have a moment here. He could have said, what they say in the war films, there will be time for that later. Now we've got a job to be done.
Right.
He didn't even say that.
No.
He just said, we've got work to do. He didn't even say, you can have your moment later. That was not even in the picture for him.
Fourth Doctor has done that a great deal.
Yeah. But in the Fourth Doctor's time, we would have had a portion of the same story which reveals his softer side.
Right.
Now we have 45-minute self-contained episodes. We haven't had a two-parter yet this season.
Right.
So we're seeing
Not
just
until the end.
Snippets of his character, and we have a whole week to mull it over. Will that softer moment come, or will it not come? I guess we're going to find out what he learned from seeing that super grumpy old man on the head of the community service brigade.
We are in the middle of London.
We are in the middle of a forest.
Okay, we've seen the trailer for the next episode. What do we think?
What was it again?
It looks like they take a school field trip to London. Like, I guess they're going to go to the London Zoo.
As long as we don't get any kind of pop reprise of what does the fox say, I think I'll be okay with it.
Well, we already had foxes in the last episode.
Okay.
And she didn't say, she sang.
Ah.
But it looks like in the next episode, he's trying to do something nice. Like he decides to volunteer to take the kids to a trip to London Zoo. And instead of ending up in London Zoo, they end up in
London becomes a zoo. Complete
overgrown London, right. Where I guess that's where their budget went. They had to hire all the animals this season.
Yeah, who knows? Honestly, people complain about budget and Doctor Who, and it never has been the problem.
Well, in this episode, I saw a lot of stuff that was obviously paint. The painted things on the doors that were supposed to be 2D. It was so brightly lit that it was obviously paint. So it was either a problem with whoever did the painting or whoever did the lighting. And
that adds charm.
The thing with the shrinking TARDIS doors inside, it was obviously just a panel with lines painted on it and some miniature TARDIS doors fitting in the middle. But again, I think that was down to lighting.
Perhaps.
They probably didn't want to make this episode too dark because the really scary part comes at the end with the zombies shambling towards everybody. And so they probably opted not to make earlier scenes in the episode too dark. But for me, visually, that was a bit of a problem. But budget done well is something that Doctor Who is known for.
And I've never had a problem suspending my disbelief with this show.
Nope.
Ever.
It definitely didn't detract from my enjoyment of the show.
The lighting you mentioned, I just realized at the beginning and at the end of the episode when they're outside in broad daylight, it's like high noon when they're out there. It's really bright. So yeah, there might be something to that.
Yeah.
They wanted a contrast,
And in the earlier scenes, it was cloudy. It was overcast. It wasn't quite as bright.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So they had that kind of bright and then journey into darkness and then into full sunlight.
Really bright.
Right.
Yeah. But who knows whether that was a conscious thing.
I'm sure it was
serendipity plays into a location shoot.
Yeah, and they were in Bristol, and it was they were looking at damp walls and that kind of thing. I mean, you can't control the weather.
No,
I'm sure a lot of it was down to location and timing.
Probably so.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Further thoughts?
Well, if they can keep this level of quality up, I just don't see how anybody could be unhappy with the show. But this season, I must say, has divided viewers in a way I've never seen before. It's very interesting. Personally, I was very let down by the last couple of seasons, at least plot arc-wise, where they would build up a giant payoff at the end that really didn't pay off very well.
Unfortunately, that could still happen with Missy.
You're right.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it a great deal so far. The only episode that I really took issue with was the Kill the Moon episode. I liked the idea and the concept, but I just felt like the idea was a little half-baked, and it's like it never got past the concept stage. Like it went from concept to production.
Right.
Like they didn't.
Yeah, there's some concepts that are just so far-fetched that there really is no way to justify them. And I will say, Doctor Who, of all the shows,
Doctor Who's been guilty of overreach many times.
Doctor Who will go there.
I won't fault them for that.
The only thing that I could probably fault the last couple of episodes is that they've concentrated very, very much on the principal characters plus one other, and all the other characters are given such short shrift that they seem kind of small. But what are you going to do? I mean, it's 45 minutes. 43, not counting the credits, right? So,
yeah, I'd like to see more of Danny Pink. I feel like he would be
I think they're
a very
saving him,
intriguing character.
I'm quite sure we're going to see
I think they're saving him for the end of the season.
Yeah. He's going to have his denouement. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but...
I hope they don't just save him for the end of the season and then kill him after 2 episodes.
No, I have a feeling that Danny is going to be kind of like Mickey. We're going to see bits of him throughout the season. And then when the Christmas episode, which is going to have an extra 15 minutes, it's going to be an hour or maybe even a little bit more, there's going to be more time for those secondary characters, some of those second and third tier characters. And it's probably going to be set on Earth again. It almost always is, because that's where you have Christmas, and it'll be a good opportunity for a lot of Danny Pink material. Do I want to say pink material?
Well, that's supposed to be Clara's, that's rumored to be Clara's end of involvement in the show. So
that would be a great opportunity for a little Clara and Danny story then.
Yeah.
To have her departure taper off or end with a bang, depending on how they want to do it.
I'm sure all will be clarified.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if Donna's dad will be the only one out on the street on Christmas Eve still.
Oh, Bernard Cribbins, we love you.
Everybody's scared stiff of going out except for Donna's dad. It's bloody brilliant, the stars.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.
All right, looking forward.
Till then.
NuWho Review was produced and hosted by Farrar Hutkins. The opening theme music was performed by Louis Dawman, and music performed by the Consortium of Genius. Email your questions or comments to NuWhoReview@gmail.com.